Hey everyone, it's Justine and welcome to a new video tutorial. I apologize that this video is a bit late. I've been under the weather with seasonal allergies, and I wanted to go into some simple cards in minutes using the brand new release from Concord 9th that came out the other day. Just keeping in mind, if you want to grab any of the products shown in this video, I have them linked below in the video description. And if you shop from Concord 9th directly, there is a free gift with a $60 purchase. Let's get into the products and the cards. So to get started, I'm going to start with the Butterfly Love Turnabout stamp set and die. This here has its own solid butterfly that you can stamp here and die cut, or it has the turnabout option as well. I absolutely love everything butterfly, and I loved that this release was full of them, so I decided to work with this one first. So I'm going to show you how the turnabout stamp works very quickly. So you need a stamp jig. You don't necessarily need one, it's just a lot easier. You can make your own with a 6x6 sheet of paper and draw an X from corner to corner on it, and you have your own jig. However, I do find this to be the easiest. So it does come with this transparency sheet, and what you do is you have it this side up, it says it at the top, and you line up your stamp. The stamp image, or the side that you would stamp, goes down onto the plastic, and you just need to line it up with the images. Now, if you're a little uncertain about turnabouts, you've tried them before and they haven't worked, I definitely suggest investing in the jig itself, or take a look at turnabouts that are meant to overlap each other, not meant to be stamped exactly. This one here, they're supposed to stamp over top of each other, so it's totally okay if you misalign it by a little bit. I'm now going to put some removable adhesive, and there are perforated little corners here on the jig, and I'm going to stick that there where the perforated corners are, and I'm just going to push down on that so it adheres to the jig itself. I'm going to be using 4 colors of ink: Fiesta Blue, Lime Rickey, Limoncello, and Be Mine from Catherine Pooler. And I'm going to start stamping. You'll notice in the top right-hand corner of the jig, it actually has a number 1 on it. So this is obviously your first color that you're going to stamp. Then you're going to turn it 90 degrees to where it says number 2 now in the top right corner, and you're going to go ahead and stamp with your next color. Just be sure that you wipe off your stamp between colors each time, especially if you're not using Catherine Pooler inks, as they can contaminate quite easily. I'm now going to go in, and I've turned it so it says number 3 now on the top right hand corner, and I'm going to ink it up again. And then again, just making sure I wipe it. I always use a microfiber cloth, so something where the little fibers aren't going to end up sticking to my stamp. That's super important. And I'm going to do the last layer here, which is in the blue. Now this is a super busy background from my standards. You can do more pastel colors if you want something more subtle. You could also do dark colors. That would work too. So my accents, I decided this time around, are going to be made of just all white, and the reason being is because I want to tone down that background a little bit. So I'm going to grab all the coordinating dies that coordinate with this stamp set. It's not really necessarily a coordinating die. These can work as standalone dies. I'm going to run them through my die cutting machine, and now I have a whole bunch of white accents to work with. So now I'm just going to lay these down onto my card, and what I love about butterfly dies is you could glue them flat on your cardstock, or you can bend the wings up and just glue the body down to the cardstock for a little dimension. Now, of course, if you're going to do this option, then these are the type of cards I like to throw into a gift bag and something personal, rather than actually sending them through the mail, because that can be a little bit, it'll just flatten them out, and that effect just won't be there. So I just adhered these off screen just to save a little bit of time, and I'm going to go ahead now with this glitter brush, and I'm going to just go ahead and go over the white here. And this might not look like much on camera, but it is putting a really beautiful shimmer down. I'm going to hold it a little closer to the camera, and hopefully in the light you'll see that glimmer there. It's a Nuvo glitter pen, and I absolutely love this pen for adding just very subtle accents. I'm now going to go ahead and mount this to a card base that measures 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, standard A2 size card. And you'll notice that I did stamp a sentiment that says "Spread your wings" in black on a white piece of cardstock, and I just simply cut it out as a rectangle and adhered it on the front. This stamp set here, or the stamp that the sentiment is from the stamp set itself with the butterfly turnabout. So you'll notice now that I've added that layer of I have a layering panel on top of a card base, that white around it really tones down the background rather than having that background really just pop so much. All those white accents really just tone everything down, which I love. And you can go ahead, as I said, and lift up any of these butterfly wings for more dimension. It's completely up to you. Let's move on to the second card here, but before we do that, I just wanted to mention, if you haven't seen my last video or my last live video, I am having a class called the Technique Resource Binder class. I'll have a link below in the video description for you if you're interested in checking out what it's all about. I've had a ton of people sign up and tell me that it's a really cool idea, so I'm hoping you'll check it out as well if you haven't already. The next stamp and die set are the beautiful butterfly stamp set, as well as this beautiful butterfly pop-up die, which makes a really big statement on the inside of your card, but you could also use these on the outside of your card as regular die cuts and not have the pop-up feature, so I love that versatility. And I've decided to start including bloopers in my videos if there happen to be some, so be sure to check those out at the end of the video. So I've gone ahead and I've separated all the dies, and I'm actually going to create my own cardstock for this. So if you ever have a ink pad that does not have its own cardstock, all you need to do is rub your ink pad against the paper. And after, it might look like it's a little splotchy right now, but just give it a second to dry and seep into the paper, and it'll look like a solid yellowy orange paper. So I've now made myself some Tiki torch paper, so it's going to match all the stamping on my card itself. I'm going to go ahead and die cut these. So I die cut the solid butterfly out of that orange paper. I've gone ahead and die cut as well the detailed accents of the butterfly, and I've used some satin black cardstock from Tonic Studios that is just a little bit different than your standard black cardstock. It's got a bit of a shine to it, that satiny look, which I absolutely love. I also wanted to mention that this new tool is available at Concord 9th as well. It is a poker tool on one end to help poke out little pieces of your die. And then on the other side, it has sort of like a little spatula feature in a way, or almost like a lifter that you would use in cooking. And you're able to lift the paper out of the die as well. Now, normally I wouldn't promote something like a craft pick, but I do absolutely love the fact that it's quite thin. I find my other one is a little bit on the thicker side, and I can't poke through things like glue bottles or die cuts that are really tiny, and this works out really well. So one of the things you can do is the butterfly that comes on the stamp set can be used on its own as sort of an abstract looking butterfly, or you can go ahead and add detail onto the die cut of the butterfly. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to put together this pop-up piece. It really is quite simple. You're going to go ahead and you're just going to enforce all of the folds that you see in it, just really going back and forth with them. And you'll notice at the end there are two slits that you're going to just push together. And so when you push it together and you actually insert the slit into the slit, you kind of have this little fish-looking shape. So it has sort of like a diamond with two little flaps coming out. And so I'm just reinforcing those fold lines. You'll see the fish shape now. Now you can go ahead and you can put the tape on while it's folded or while it's flat. I found it a bit easier to do it while it was flat. So you're going to put some tape generously here onto the back of the pop-up feature. So where the slits are, it's actually what's in the middle. And then you're going to go ahead, you can attach the two slits together. So now when I hold it this way with the fishtail sort of facing towards me, the tape is on the back, on those two little folds that are kind of in the top of the diamond right now. Then I'm going to add some tape there to each of the flaps, and that's going to be where I'm going to actually attach my butterfly. Now is when you decide where you want to put it inside your card. And so you're going to put the score line, so you'll see that there's a point at the end of your fish, into the fold of the cardstock, and then you can press down the tape. And now you can just simply attach your butterfly where the score line is on the body onto the score line that is in the fishtail, so the middle of the fishtail. So then when you open and close your card, you'll notice that it folds down flat, and it opens up to reveal the pop-up butterfly. I think this is such a cool way and a nice surprise for the person opening the card, so I decided to make the front of the card super plain. So on a 4x5 1/4 card panel, I simply stamped 3 of the butterfly stamps that come in the stamp set that we did the detail of the butterfly on the die cut. And I stamped them in Tiki Torch ink, stamped Happy Birthday in black, and I'm adding a couple of little sequins right now that I'm actually helping pick up with my little craft pick here. I decided to just skip ahead since it was just some simple stamping and explain what I did rather than show it. So now when I glue the cover here onto the actual card base, then you see that it's going to be absolutely pretty with this very simplistic cover, and then inside is the fun surprise. So happy birthday, boom, butterfly. So here's a final look at the front of that card, and then I'm going to move on to the next one. So I'm actually going to combine 2 stamp sets here to make one card. One of this is the beautiful background stamp that I absolutely love. It's a nice subtle background with lots of white space. And then there is this really cool strawberry stamp set, and it comes with the coordinating dies with sentiments like "So Berry Kind of You," and it comes with 3 different sizes of strawberries. And you're the sweetest of the patch, and I'd pick you every time. And I think the sentiments are just adorable. And it also has the solid leaves as well. And you could, of course, die cut these and then draw on some white dots if you want and have your own strawberries, or you can just stamp them. So I'm going to go ahead and start with my background stamp. Now, I don't like clear background stamps in the sense that I don't like to peel them off the acetate and try and stick them in my MISTI. I tend to just ink them up on the plastic sheet itself on my surface, and then I lay the cardstock down and stamp that way. I just find it a lot easier than trying to peel it all off and then the acetate gets all curly. I think there's a reason why lots of companies go with rubber in that sense, but I'm also happy to have them in clear. It's just I like to stamp them a bit of a different way. And to be honest, I stamp my red rubber stamps this way as well. So I'm just going to lift my background off here, and you'll see that that beautiful background is stamped perfectly on there. I'm going to set that off to the side for now and get started on my strawberries. So I'm going to stamp all of the strawberries down here using some Rockin red ink from Catherine Pooler. And this is the first time I'm stamping them, and it's also a very solid stamp. And overall, they stamped really well. Catherine Pooler ink, I really don't have any doubts it's going to stamp well, but I did notice there was a bit of residue from the manufacturing process on them. So I just gave it a quick rub with my finger after I stamped it the first time and noticed there was 1 or 2 little patchy areas, and then it stamped no problem the second time. These strawberries are absolutely adorable when they're put together with the leaves. So now I'm just going to lift up. You'll see how great these stamped even for the first time stamping them. I know lots of people get really concerned about stamping solid stamps, but I love my Catherine Pooler inks for that. I get guaranteed results every time as long as I keep them nice and juicy. So I'm going to go ahead now and stamp the leaves, and I'm going to stamp 2 sets of these since I'm going to need them. And the way I'm going to do that just easily is I'm just going to flip my cardstock around and then stamp in the opposite corner. And that way I don't have to really worry about, relining all of those leaves. It's just a nice quick little tip for you. Now I've gone ahead to off screen and I've die cut all of these just to make things a bit easier. You'll see they die cut absolutely perfect, and I love how it does have the white little frame around there. I'm not a fan of it often with my die cuts that I get that white frame, but I absolutely love it here because I get that little pop. It really makes the red pop and the white inside of the strawberries. And so I'm just going to lay out my strawberries here and my sentiment and kind of see where I'm going to place things. I've cut too many strawberries, I know that, but I could use some of those for a card later. I have to also say that if any of your strawberries didn't stamp particularly well, or if there's any small piece, you can use the sentiment to put some creative placement and cover up any sort of flaws that were originally in the card. So now that I've adhered everything down, you can also go in with some white Nuvo drops and really enforce that white inside the strawberries if you like. It's a completely optional thing for you to do, but it does add a bit of texture and some fun to it, so I thought that might be a fun thing to do. So here's a final look at that card. Moving on to the next two cards that I'm going to create, which are super easy, very, very basic. This is such a fun stamp. It's Rooting for You, stamp and die. It has the sort of letterboard look as well as the succulent look, so you can just play with the sentiments if you want and have boxes and frames around them, or you can have the plants. It's completely up to you. And since these are simple stamping, I'm going to go very quickly through the next two cards. So using that Twilight ink that I used on the background of the previous card, I'm going to go ahead and push down as hard as I can onto these three stamps here. They say "so very happy for you" and "always rooting for you," and it also has one solid one with a heart on the inside. I'm going to double stamp to make sure I get really good coverage. Then I'm going to go ahead and just stamp a couple of leaves here just to add a little bit of color, and I also stamped the pink heart that comes with the stamp set inside the center to just add another additional pop of color. So as I said, a very, very simple card, but I absolutely love the simplicity of it. I think it looks really cute. And here's a final look at it. And then I also wanted to show you a second card that I have made, which was just a simple stamping of the pots, stamp the leaves, die cut them, and put them together. Really, really quite simple, and it has this cool shelf here that you can die cut as well. A really, really great card that you can make that's so simple and has so many possibilities with all the different pots and plants. So no card making session is complete without a mistake here and there, so I just wanted to show you one of mine. So as I was on the phone making this card, I decided to fold myself a new card base. Now, I would like to point out that this was the card that I created the pop-up butterfly for. So of course, here I am creating a brand new card base. Everything's all cool. I glue down my front. And then I realized that the pop-up card is not on the inside. Now, easy and salvageable, I simply just cut the card base so that it was only the card front and glued it onto the card base with the pop-up inside it. But this is pretty funny, and this is definitely my reaction here.
Did I actually just do that? You're distracting me.
I hope you enjoyed this card, everyone, and I hope you enjoyed that little blooper. I love hearing about all your crafty mishaps as well. Don't forget, all supplies listed below in the video description, as well as my brand new class and my sales page that I update on the daily for the sales that I know are going on, and they also contain my links if you want to shop through my links. Thanks so much for watching. Bye for now.